It's not what you say, it's how you say it. Hey there, Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here. Welcome to day 95 of our Supersize You annual challenge. Today we're talking about communication, of course, and our tone. Watch your voice on, or watch your tone, young lady. Can't tell you how many times I heard that growing up. Why? Because sometimes I didn't have the best tone. Sometimes I'd be sarcastic. Sometimes I would I would forget, and I really didn't know better. But our tone of voice indicates the emotion and the intensity and the intent, which is really powerful, of our message. So have you ever been in a situation where somebody was giving you feedback and they're saying all the right words? Excuse me, I need another sip. They're saying all the right things, but you can just tell they've got this little underlying smirk on their face and in their voice, and they really are just criticizing you, trying to say it in a nice way, but they're really disrespecting you with their tone. And we as human beings are like little radar detectors. We can pick up all these underlying communication and nonverbal communication things. We talked about that a little bit yesterday. So tone is one thing that we are all very sensitive to. Not all of us, but some more than others. I notice when I'm frustrated or tired or hangry, meaning hungry and angry, because when I get hungry, I get angry. My tone of voice changes. This was kind of a wake-up message today to me, just as well as everyone else, that I have to be more intentional in how I say the things that I say. Because a lot of times I say the right thing, but I say it in a way that makes somebody not feel the way I intended, right? So that's on me to tweak that and fix that and understand the impact that I have on other people. Tone conveys emotion and intent. And as much as we can sugarcoat it or try to sugarcoat something, if our intent is not good, people sense that and they know that. I saw this and I learned this so much in corporate America with feedback sessions and giving people their performance reviews and performance appraisals. Some managers will go into those things with, I'm going to find everything that's wrong with you and tell you everything you're doing wrong. Other leaders, I call them difference between managers and leaders. Other leaders would go in and be like, all right, this is what you're doing. Great. Let's do more of that. These are a couple things I'd like to see you work on. But their tone and their demeanor and the way they delivered the message spoke volumes about them. It wasn't really ever about the person that was getting the review. It's always about the person that is giving the reviews, opinion, reaction, past experience with the individual, etc. And so I think feedback is one of the most important things that we can get, not only in our businesses and our jobs and our careers, but in our lives, right? We are not mind readers. We are very sensitive human beings, but we are not mind readers. And so if people don't tell us and give us feedback, we don't know how we're necessarily impacting them. We just know from inside our head how things look. It's an interesting thing to think about, kind of a big metaphysical thing. So what are we going to do with this today? To me, the number one thing is to always become aware of something. Be aware of when a situation goes awry, and then like look at it, relive it a little bit for a minute or two, just to be reflective and say, maybe it wasn't what I said. Maybe it was how I said it. Maybe the person interpreted what I was saying in one way because I was nervous about delivering that message. One of the most challenging things we do as people is communicate and have difficult conversations, right? Setting boundaries is often difficult for people because they don't want to upset the other person. Avoiding conflict is, one of those human things we want to do. We don't want to upset people unnecessarily. But it doesn't mean that we don't set boundaries and we don't let them know when they've had a negative impact on us. So pay attention to your tone in your different interactions today. And if you're stressed or frustrated, pause, take a deep breath, say, okay, how do I want to respond to this? My natural tendency is to raise my voice and the volume of my voice, which is always a bad thing. It never works out well because it doesn't get me the reaction I want, and it makes me feel bad. And it makes me seem like I'm yelling and screaming more than I just am increasing the sense of urgency. So I have to work on that. So pick an area of, maybe you don't have any trouble with tone. Maybe your words and your intentions and your tone always are a perfect match. And if they are, share in the comments below a couple of stories to help and tips to help the rest of us to become better in this area. For an action item, let's share one time. Here's a question. Have you ever sent a text message or a message and had the other person totally misunderstand or misconstrue what you were saying, even though the words were right? There was no tone attached to a text message or, just a typewritten email or something. And so they're much more open to misinterpretation than interpretation in many instances. So share a story if you've got a story about that, where you sent a text message. My son's girlfriend broke up with him over text message years ago when phones first became a thing. And it's like, wow. And I'm sure the tone was very different than the intent in that situation. All right. That is what we're working on today. Tone, volume. And remember, our tone conveys emotion and intent. So when we're in a highly emotional state, our intent might get snuffed out because our message is just carrying all the emotion in our tone, not the actual intent. So always when you're in a strong emotional state, always take a deep breath first, pause, and then respond. The vast majority of the time, you will get a much better reaction and response. And when in doubt, ask. When in doubt, add a little warmth to your tone. When in doubt, make sure your intent is good and positive. If it's not, don't say anything. All right, that's it for today. If I can help you anyway, heads up. We're going to do the SOAP framework tomorrow, so you can think of a communication challenge area that you want to address over the next 4 days. We'll do that in addition to our regular message, our regular lesson for the day. All right. If I can help you anyway, ask. Otherwise, make it a great day. It happens to be Easter here in my neck of the woods. So have an awesome day, and I will, of course, be with you tomorrow.